All right, it's that time of year. It's the holiday season where everybody is telling you how to spend your money. Oh, get the Christmas gifts. I even made a video myself trying to help people. But today I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to tell you the top ways that skiers waste their money. Elliott, your affiliate links are down. I don't know, I don't care. I just want to tell you guys the truth. There are a ton of ways that people spend their money and waste it, especially when they're new to skiing. So I'm gonna help explain to you all the ways that you can avoid wasting your money on the ski hill and spend it on things that really matter. So without further ado, let's talk about the biggest wastes of money I see in the ski industry, or just not ski industry, I guess, just amongst people, the biggest ways people blow their money on the ski hill. If you're new to the channel, my name's Elliott. This is Rickety Ski Reviews. Let's just jump right into the list. All right, the first one, biggest waste of money, things I wouldn't buy or recommend most people buy. There are exceptions, all of this, but the number one, or the first one, is new 2026 skis. If you don't know you like them, or if there hasn't been a review on them, or if you're not familiar with previous versions of it, or if it's the same ski, there's a lot of exceptions to this. If you know, hey, I like that version, and from what I can see, it's just improved upon, or hey, I'm familiar with the ski and they didn't change anything, it's just a different top sheet, or hey, I didn't get it on sale in the off season, but, I know I like it. They didn't have my size available when it was on sale, or, whatever. I gotta buy it when I gotta buy it. That's fine. Or you've demoed it, you like it. But one thing I see a lot of people do is they buy the new generation version of something, sight unseen, without knowing for sure whether or not they like it. There's a few exceptions, I tested and reviewed the new 2026 Stokely Monterey R. And I think that everything they did was fine-tuning and improving upon the previous gen 2025 and older version. So I think that if you bought a 2026 Stokely Monterey R, you're safe, you're good. Same for the Storm Rider. The Storm Rider is very similar. Stokely really makes small changes that are just fine-tuning something. But if you know you like the Atomic Maverick 88 Ti, I don't know that you would like the 88C Ti. They are different. They're going in a different direction. I would almost recommend go with a Meyer Wrangler or something else. It is not guaranteed that you're gonna like it. So there's exceptions and changes. There's also skis where I have no idea if you're gonna like them. Salomon has the new Salomon QST 100. I like the Salomon QST 98, 92, 106. But I don't know. I don't know what it's like for this year, and you're going off of reviews that aren't very helpful. The only people who have really reviewed the 2026, Ski Essentials, they do a good job, but then you've got Free Skier Magazine, where they're it's playful. But more chargy this year. What does that mean? That's not gonna give you, in my opinion, enough information as a buyer to make an educated decision. Now, again though, maybe you've skied this Salomon QST 98, that's the only ski you like. You have QST 92s, QST 106s, you love everything QST. Sure, it's probably a little bit less risky. But if you're not sure, I don't know what to tell you. I haven't skied on the 2026 versions. I don't know. It might be fine, but I just think that when you are buying a 2026 ski and it's one of those companies like Armada, Atomic, Salomon, where they don't give it to independent reviewers and you're gonna be paying full price, you are paying the most amount of money that ski is gonna cost with the least amount of information. And that's where I think it's at the very least more risky and a really easy way to blow your money. So especially if you're new to the sport, if you're brand new, and you're kind of in that beginner to intermediate, there's no reason to have the 2026 ski. Again, unless it's a sizing issue, unless it's a time of year where you have to buy it. But I would be so careful. There are some brands though, out there like DPS, Volkl, anyway, and literally anyone behind me, where they are hey, we're gonna get this early. We want people to have as much information. We wanna have as much visibility. DPS wasn't we have notes for your video. They're here's your ski, there's 4 of them, send them back in 2 weeks, So I think that there are different levels of confidence, and I'm not just trying to insert myself here or plug myself, but I'm just saying that if you're a beginner and intermediate, you really probably don't need to pull the trigger on a 2026 ski unless that's just what you can buy at the time. At the very least, try to get as much information about the ski as you can before you pull the trigger, because I think that is just a really easy way to burn money. I get so many people who go, oh yeah, I bought a 2025 Nordic Enforcer sight unseen and it really was not a good match for me, or oh, I got kind of settled up with an Atomic Bent 100, but I live in northern Maine and it doesn't quite suit my needs because I'm not a freestyle skier. It's just not a good use case. So do yourself a favor, buy skis with as much information as you possibly can, and make them, like anything, make an educated purchase. All right, on to the next one. That first one took a long time. The next item, number 2, insulated jackets. This one's kind of counterintuitive because you're thinking, oh, well, insulated jackets are cheaper than shells, and I'm getting a jacket and insulation. That's gonna be better. Unfortunately, I've fallen for this too. It is really misleading, but insulated jackets have a couple of big drawbacks. One, the shell doesn't tend to be as waterproof or as just well made as a designated shell. So if you get into a big storm, a big powder day, they are going to kind of wet through. Like I had an Armada Reedy, and that thing was notorious for just letting water through. Same for my DC Haven jacket. Versus, you get like a nice shell. I reviewed a bunch of them last year. Arc'teryx Saber was really nice. The Patagonia Snowdrift, their name's really weird. I think that's what it's called. Stormshift, Snowdrift, whatever. That one was really good, bang for your buck. My favorite personally is the Mammut Haldragat. I got that one used on Gear Trade, but this year I actually went and bought a new one because I liked it so much. It seems counterintuitive, right? Because I'm saying don't waste your money and spend more money. But honestly, what I think most people find is they buy the insulated jacket and then they have to buy a second nice shell jacket, and then you're buying layers for that. I would just start with a well-made shell jacket. You don't have to buy them new, or you can buy them in the off season when they're cheaper, and then put good layers of insulation. It's kind of a buy once, cry once situation, if that makes any sense. Cry once, buy once? Am I saying it backwards? Anyway, buy something nice the first time, well made. Also, the problem with insulated jackets is once you have insulation in there, you can't take it back out. So if you get too warm when you're skiing in the trees, when you're skiing in the powder, when you're working hard, you have no way to get rid of the insulation and no way to get rid of the heat. Also, a lot of those insulated jackets don't have vents. Like the nice shells, they do have pit zips, so you can actually ventilate out. There's so many positives to buying that if you just get yourself a nice shell from the get-go, it will serve you for a long time down the road. And you can layer it appropriately, you can heat mitigate appropriately, you're not gonna have water coming through. I honestly, for years I've done this wrong, and last year was the first year I've had a nice shell. Again, I bought a used Mammut Haldragat, and I absolutely love it. I have a whole video talking about my favorite, so maybe check that out if you're not sure. But again, by cheaping out and buying, a $200-300 insulated jacket, that's kind of just money wasted because you will eventually need to upgrade it to a shell if you're going a lot. If you're not going a lot, that Armada Reedy or DC Haven jacket is probably perfect for it. If you're only going 5-10 days a year, that's probably not a big deal to you. Or if you don't like storms, if it's really bad weather, you kind of stay in the lodge, probably not a problem. But if you're a big enthusiast, if you're chasing storms, if you like big powder days, yeah, just get it right the first time. There's no need to waste your money on this stuff beforehand. I wish someone had told me that. It would have saved me a few $100. The next way that people kind of blow money, I don't think it's a bad purchase for everyone. And in fact, for me, it's not a bad purchase. Well, I'd like to believe it's not. Maybe you feel differently. But GoPros, I feel like the average skier probably doesn't need a GoPro. I think that there's a lot of pressure to have one. You want to document it. And I think if you're making videos and you're passionate about it, that's great. That's really cool. But for the average person, like when I was in my 20s, someone gifted me in my family, which is a nice, thoughtful gift, but they gifted me a GoPro. I think I made one little supercut and I had it on my helmet. And the video didn't turn out very good. I didn't know what I was doing. If you're passionate about it and you're gonna make these cuts, I think that's awesome. But really make sure it's not just a passing interest. Like, what are you actually gonna use to make with this camera? Is it gonna be like cool family vacation videos? Awesome, like do that. But be realistic about it, I guess, because I could see a lot of people, like I would guess if you took every GoPro user, how many of these things are collecting dust over the last decade or two? It's probably at least 50% of people that did not use them regularly, or they only got a handful of uses before they got kind of put into storage. If you're gonna use it, great. But if not, it's kind of a big waste of money. And like, if you wanna see yourself skiing, like your phone can do a lot of it. I really use this for footage of my skis like on the run that I can't get. But if it was just like me doing hobby stuff, like in the past before I had this channel, when I was making little videos with my kids, I don't know, if it's a warm day, I was just kind of using my phone. This was not necessary to me until I started the channel. Oh, the next item I wanna talk about is cheap goggles. It's kind of that same thought process as insulated jackets. There are a ton of cheap goggles out there. A lot of them probably come out of the same factory, to be honest. I'll say this, like, again, if you're only going 5-10 days, whatever goggle really doesn't matter. If you're just trying to get on the hill and see if you like it, I get it. And there are some cool options. Like, I've seen some pretty decent spy goggles at Costco for like $60. I haven't owned them, I guess, but like, you don't have to, not every single person needs to spend top dollar. That being said, if you are somebody who is skiing a lot, cheaping out on the goggles usually just means that you're gonna have to buy something nice later. If you don't have the contrast in the light so you can see the pitch or you can see kind of textures in the snow where there might be rocks, etc., it gets dangerous that way. There's a really interesting Instagram reel that Zach sent me the other day about this woman who had a branch come through. She had some cheap magnets on the interchangeable lens. She has a video talking about, if I had had better goggles, I would still have my eye. So, you know, that's one of those things where you want to save some money, but then you're going into surgery for your eye. You're probably not saving any money, and I certainly wouldn't recommend it. There are a lot of really good brands out there. I personally really like Oakley. I know they're expensive, but in the summer you can usually find some pretty slammin' deals on Oakley. In the past, before that, I really liked my POC goggles. They fit really well with my helmet. Who else? I've heard good things about Smith. I haven't owned them. I am actually testing a pair this season. Have I even opened this yet? Shout out Smith, I guess, for sending me these to test. Might as well do this now. Yeah, like Smith sent me a pair of goggles to test. I've heard great things. I'm not gonna recommend it until I actually test it. Sorry, cardboard's super loud. There's a lot of really good brands out there. In the past, I like Shred, although the more recent ones I tested, I wasn't too thrilled by, but that was a used pair. I don't know, there's plenty of good brands. I would say the main staples are pretty good. Oakley and POC are the ones I could probably safely recommend. And then I've heard good things about Smith. I've heard good things about Anon goggles. And what else have I heard good things about? Jolbo, I haven't heard bad things about. I still have to test those. Jolbo, if you want me to review that, I will. But anyway, you do your own research, but don't just go for the cheapest Amazon Basics goggle. You will end up putting it into a landfill and getting something that actually works for you. If a goggle fogs, there's so many points of failure for a goggle that make pretty much your day ruined for skiing. They can fog up, they can not have the right contrast, the little magnet thing could not work. It's just one of those areas where you can try to save some money, but you might lose the best day of the year skiing. So I'm not sure that you really saved any money. We consider like gas driving up and buying your season pass, all this stuff. It's just one of those things I would buy once and cry once. Up next, another way I see people blow money is beginners buying Carv. I'm gonna put a big asterisk because I haven't tested Carv yet. It is on my radar to test and review, but I do think that for a lot of really, really beginner skiers, Carv is, from what I see, it looks like it gives you some useful information. It's giving you good data, but I think that when you're really new to skiing, you're not gonna have the vocabulary to understand and utilize that information. So for people who are really new to skiing, I would probably wait and just get yourself lessons from like a competent ski instructor, or go through an area that has good lessons, or find somebody, you know, that's willing to give you tips and advice so that you then have the vocab and the context for what Carv is telling you. I haven't reviewed Carv, but I do see a lot of very, very beginner, maybe early intermediates using Carv. And I think that not only is it probably not a great use of your funds, but it also is just not gonna give you the value it might later on in your ski career. I really just gotta do that Carv review so I can say if it's a good value for anyone. But for sure, that very, very early phase, I feel very confident saying, spend your money elsewhere. As my dad always says, buy yourself some good lessons. Although he's a PSIA instructor, so I guess he's biased in that way. But it's not like he's getting paid directly by the lesson, and he's retired, so I don't know. My dad always says, though, when he sees somebody buying like an $1,800 Art House bomber ski, he's like, wow, that would have bought them some pretty good lessons, I bet. Maybe that's where I get my snark from. Anyway, on to the next one. I think if you're spending $500 on a locker, if you only go 10 days, paying for any of this stuff. Okay, locker or parking. If you're not going that often, if you're going under 15 days a year, stop it. What are you doing? Come on. Walk a little. This is kind of in the same vein, Zipfits, if you're going under 10 days per year. Yes, it is a better fit for your boot. Yes, it's more comfortable. But Zipfits take a long time to break in. I would say you need at least like 3 to 5 solid days on snow before you really break your Zipfits in. Obviously, some of that depends on like if you heat mold it or if you do the work at home. But, you know, if it's gonna take you 5 days to break these in anyway, and that's half your season, you're really not gonna get the value back out of them. That being said, if you love performance, you want a good fit, you're gonna use them a ton, absolutely. It's a great product. It's just a high ticket item, and it's hard to get your value back if you don't put a ton of mileage on them. And especially like beginner and new people, they don't always have the right boot. Like they may need a different boot in a year or two, and the Zipfit may not fit that. They may realize that they got a boot that was too wide, too narrow. People get the length wrong, honestly. They realize that they need a smaller boot. So if you do that, the Zipfit that you have may not work in your next boot. So I would just make sure you're at the period and you're getting enough mileage that you're gonna get the value, you got the experience, you're gonna get the value, but also that your shell itself is locked in enough, is a good enough fit for you, that you will be able to keep using the Zipfits in future years. The next one is Ski Jigs. I own a Ski Jig, so I guess I'm a bit of a hypocrite, but the average person probably doesn't need a ski jig. I use this jig a lot because I have dozens of skis I need to mount each year, and on top of that, it's not even that I don't want to pay the local shop to do it, because I like paying the local shop to do it. It gives me peace of mind that I'm not going to destroy a ski. But there are times of the year where they get so busy that I'm going to have to wait a week or two to get my ski mounted. Now, the shops have been great. Like, they've always worked with me, like food and whatnot, to the local shop just to say thank you for getting my skis mounted. But that being said, there are times of the year where I really need this. But the reason I wouldn't recommend getting a jig is, one, you could mount your skis wrong. Two, these are not cheap. These can go from anywhere from, I got this one used for $200, but I think on average I typically see them for closer to $500. It's specific to the binding. You also have to have the boot. If you don't have, like, this is a demo jig, which is great because I don't have to have the boot on hand. It's really easy to mount demo bindings, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. If you decide that you don't like your bindings, each binding, or it'll be like a handful of SKU bindings that will go to each jig, but if in the future you get more bindings, I really think you need to mount 5 pairs of skis each year to get your value, and even then it would have to be all the same binding, or all the same jig at least, in order to get your value. And I think for most people, it's probably worth it to just have peace of mind and go and get it done at your local shop. The local shop will also test to make sure that the clearance of the toe piece is correct. They'll test the dins on it and everything. I think the average skier, this is a pretty big waste of money. There's very few people that should probably own this. And I'm barely in that category, to be honest. Like, I'm in the category this second year of shooting videos. I was not the first couple years. All right, now you want to hear the biggest ways to waste your money. Probably the single largest way to blow money on skiing. If you're not familiar with the area, or you're not a big skier, you're kind of new to it, there are a lot of people that blow a lot of money buying property on ski hills that they're not familiar with. They think, okay, I'll buy the second home, I'm gonna Airbnb it, I'm gonna make all this money from this TikTok I saw. And a lot of people get upside down in it. The Airbnb rentals may dry up for that season. You look at the start of the ski season we've had out in Tahoe, up in the Pacific Northwest, even Idaho has been pretty slim pickings so far. There are a lot of people where, honestly, I think that if they just spent a year buying hotels or renting a cabin or renting a condo or doing week-long trips, they would have saved themselves a lot of money. I mean, real estate is all speculative. I'm sure for what I'm saying, there's another 100 people who are like, oh, well, my condo at this ski area has gone through the roof in value and I've made hundreds of thousands. Sure, that can be true, but I really think that if you're not that familiar with the area, I grew up in a ski town, and you would see all the time people move in, maybe they build a big, like, fancy condo, and then after a few years they realize that they don't really like living in that area, or they just realize the downsides. Living in these towns in the shoulder season is brutal. Or, like maybe, again, in a sport that's so weather dependent, you get a bad season and you're relying on those Airbnb rentals to help pay your mortgage. I'm not a real estate agent, I'm not a financial expert, but as somebody who has lived in a ski town or grew up in a ski town, I would say that it's a risky move, in my opinion. And it's one of the ways people lose a lot of money and blow a lot of money doing this sport. I guess that one's a stretch. I don't know if it qualifies, but it's a really good way to lose some money, I think. I mean, for every one I'm saying that, there's 8 people who it is a good fit and it is a good idea for them and they do utilize it and they have gotten tremendous value from living somewhere like that. But I just think that housing prices now, interest rates, combined with speculation about people having disposable income for Airbnbs forever, and you have a bad winter, there's just so many variables that leave you exposed. If you can afford the mortgage without any issue, by all means, what am I gonna tell you how to spend your money? I don't care. But if you're one of these people who is speculative and rolling the dice, at least know the risk you're kind of getting into. I don't care. We're talking about skiing. I'm not talking about real estate anymore. Oh, all right. Oh, the next one. This is my favorite thing to talk about. I think it's a huge waste of money to buy an expensive, new four-wheel drive vehicle with no snow tires. There's nothing wrong with four-wheel drive. I think it's great. I would recommend it to a lot of people. But I see people who go out and buy very expensive, brand new, Nissan, what are those ones called? Nissan Pathfinders, or their big Chevy Suburbans, and then their off-trail Toyota FJ Cruiser, and they don't put snow tires on it. That makes no sense to me. Okay, here's my understanding from doing some research on this, and from living in the East Coast, the ice coast. Snow tires are really effective for stopping. They are really good for getting traction and being able to change your momentum. Okay, they're also good for climbing and everything else. But four-wheel drive, in tests they did, the four-wheel drive, if you're going down a steep hill, it really isn't gonna contribute too much to your stopping power when you're going downhill and sliding, which is when you need it the most. What you really do need is good snow tires. That being said, if you're looking for climbing ability or off-road ability, yes, the four-wheel drive will give you more power. It will give you an advantage with the climb, but it is still four-wheel drive with no snow tires is not gonna outperform two-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, whatever, with snow tires. If you want the best performance, you can get both, but really what most people care about when it comes to safety is being able to brake when going downhill and not slide off the road or slide into a ditch. And in that case, that is where snow tires really are the primary thing you should buy. So in my opinion, if you're really into skiing, you don't need to go out and buy a brand new $60,000 SUV or truck or whatever. What you should do is get the vehicle that you can afford and put good snow tires on it. In my experience, Nokian Monopoloa, is that what they're called? It's been a while. Nokian had some fabulous snow tires. I had on my Toyota Matrix in Vermont. I've had Michelin Ice X's on my last car that were phenomenal. Those are great tires. The ones I have now are, what is it called? Bridgestone Blizzak. What are they called? Blizzak snow tire? Seems like such a weird name. Am I getting that right? Yeah, the Bridgestone Blizzak snow tire. They were on sale at Costco and I have 4 of those. In Idaho, a lot of people don't have it. They have the all-weather tires, but for me personally, driving with kids, I want to make sure I have good snow tires. So yeah, I think the Blizzaks, the Michelin Ice X's, and the Nokians, in my experience and just anecdotal from the people I talk to, have been kind of top dogs. But don't go and spend $60,000 on a vehicle getting four-wheel drive and then not put snow tires on it. You see those people stuck all the time and it's a huge waste of money, in my opinion. Bang for your buck, good snow tires are kind of king. The other way that a lot of skiers blow their money is they will buy expensive gear just because it's expensive. There is expensive gear that is good, but a lot of people need a certain ability to appreciate the differences. But there is also this weird subsector of skis where they have an art house top sheet, or it has the, Ferrari top sheet. I forget what it was. There's some car brands that have top sheets, or Bomber loves putting fancy top sheets. You don't need to spend $1,800 on a fancy top sheet on what is a regular ski. That's a really good way to blow your money. Also, people will get the fancy helmets with the one visor. I think that's a big waste of money. There's just a lot of very showy items that aren't actually gonna provide performance. And especially if you're a beginner or intermediate, that especially, it might be a good performing ski that's twice the price because of the top sheet, but even then, if you're beginner to intermediate, you're not even getting the baseline appreciation of the ski. Just get the ski that really suits your needs. Don't buy it just because it's expensive. There's stuff that is good because it's expensive. This DPS, Piecework 79 for enthusiasts, is an awesome ski. The Stokely Monroe, Stokely Stormrider, those are nice skis. But not every ski that's expensive is good. Every ski that's really good tends to be expensive, but not every ski that's expensive is good. Does that make sense? I don't know. The next one is trendy clothing. I think fast fashion in general is just a good way to have clothing end up in a landfill. If you're getting a ski outfit for a trip and then you never use it again, that's a big waste of money. If you're getting it for that season and never using it again, that's a big waste of money. I see a lot of these kind of Instagram, onesies people wear with the fur, and they're very expensive designer clothing and then they're not wearing it again. honestly, buy a good shell, buy the right gear for the job. If you like fashion, that's fine. I'm not critiquing that, but I think it is a big waste of money if you're gonna use it once and not use it again, or if it's not actually keeping you warm enough that you can go enjoy skiing. I don't care if you do it, but it's not a good use of funds if you care about that at all. If you don't care about funds, you're probably not watching this video. This one's gonna be controversial. I think another way that a lot of people blow their money, and I know people have done this a ton, is buying backcountry gear when you've only skied resort. I honestly think that a lot of people get really excited about doing backcountry skiing, touring, they get all the gear, it's fun to shop for all this stuff, and then they never use it. They're only skiing resort, life happens. I really think before you buy any kind of backcountry gear, you should probably go through avalanche training first. Like, take one of those courses, educate yourself, because it could either be a big waste of money in that you never use it and it sits in your closet, but it could also be a big waste of money if you just die. You know what I mean? Don't just like buy the stuff and be like, oh, I'm a smart guy, I'll figure it out. I got an intuition for these kind of things. It's like, no, just take the training, educate yourself, and either don't waste your money or don't die. Both good options. Spend your money on the training. It's the same as like Carv. Spend your money on the baseline education, and honestly, you'll probably have a better understanding of what gear you really need, and you'll probably buy better gear. That's just, okay. And use my affiliate link, yeah, right, like, okay, this will be, I'll see on my, there's gonna be more returns on purchases this week, I get a feeling. That's okay, I don't care. I don't care about you guys just spending money for the sake of spending money. Spend money on something you're gonna actually use that will serve you well and last a long time. That's my advice. Buy stuff that's well made that you will actually use. There's nothing I hate more than just like, owning things that I will never use, or owning things for the sake of owning them. Like, or owning something and it was not a good fit and then I had to buy something else that was a good fit. I wanna help you guys, like, buy the things that will actually work well for you. Okay, this is the last one. I don't think it's a waste if you have the money to do it. I think a lot of people really, it's a fun thing for them. But I do think that it's a really good way to blow money is storm chasing, especially if you're buying your tickets way, like, a few weeks ahead. I've just seen people where they're like, yeah, I'm going out to Tahoe for this big storm, or oh, I'm gonna hit Salt Lake for this area. And then bogus has the biggest storm of the year and Utah that 1 week got no snow. It's really not always that predictable. Unless you just have like money to blow and airline tickets aren't a big deal, like you can book it within a week or two and you know for sure there's a storm coming, great, like go do that. I'm not gonna like judge anyone's hobby. But I do think that there are people who just get a little too finicky, they get a slow start to their season and they jump around, and I've seen people jump around and they leave right when the big storm hits. It's one of those things you can't really time it perfectly. Weather forecasts, I think, are pretty accurate 10 days and under, but once you go outside of that, it becomes more speculative. I just, take a season. If you feel like you're at a bad season, then maybe plan your trip for different areas. But I wouldn't suggest like traveling for skiing way like a month or two in advance without being ready for it to be just awful conditions. Does that make any sense? Am I explaining that right? Like, you can probably go to Utah pretty safely in January, February and be like, yeah, I'll see some snow. But be ready to go to an area where you might be on groomed runs. And that's why I'm always telling people, like, carving is great because you can have a good day when there isn't a ton of snow. It's not like surfing where you have to be weather dependent. And I think that if more people had both kind of, tools in their toolkit, carving and free ride skiing, they would make it so they had less opportunity to be disappointed by weather. But I think, unless you're storm chasing within a week or two, you can probably end up spending a bunch of money and, ending up with subprime conditions. So anyway, that's the end of the video. If you want to let me know how you feel like you've wasted your money over the years, I'm all ears. Oh, subscribing to you, Elliott. Well, that was free, so. If you do want to support the channel and you don't want to spend any of your money, yeah, liking and subscribing, you can use our affiliate links for good, solid products. I'll have a list of them, stuff that I really do think is a good value. I also have a channel Patreon. You'll see at the end, we've got our producers. I'm super grateful for the Patreon. It's allowed me to review skis like Solomon, where they don't want to send them to me. They'd rather send their buddies out to France. And because of the Patreon, I don't have to worry about that. I can go, okay, I'll use this month's Patreon, or maybe, I think it takes a couple months. I'll use a couple months of Patreon and I can buy a pair of Solomon skis and not have to like go hat in hand, like, please Solomon, may I have some more? More! So if you want to support my channel and what I'm doing here, You can be a Patreon member. You can, you know, do the one-off with the Ko-Fi and the company Venmos. Those are in the descriptions as well. But more than anything, as always, just thanks for taking time out of your day to watch my videos. It means a ton to me that you spend your part of your day with me, and I can't be more grateful for that. So thank you for doing that. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.